So our goal is to take some of that pressure off over the next hour and a half and get an idea of how you can be able to just kind of cruise through that day. We have some incredible information, but it's marathon season here. I mean, it's incredible. We have two people on stage who are doing New York. We have this man in the center here who's going to be making sure everything happens in Chicago. So I'm going to make that first question towards Mike. So the question is, excitement happens in Chicago when we see this blue line that goes on the ground. How the hell does that happen?
It's for a specific reason. It looks great, but it's also there for the elite athletes to guide them along the route with the shortest distance, as you know, running the tangents. And I think, like Coach Norman has probably been telling you about, in terms of finding the tangent and then making sure that you're running the shortest possible route on race day. So we'll be painting that on Tuesday.
I always felt like I had it in me to win Boston, from that first time I ran it to 2011, finishing 2 seconds from the win, sprinting down Boylston and just getting that taste of it. And so getting that done was just a huge relief for me. Obviously a big goal checked off, and it's obviously been very busy since. I've been traveling around and just talking about running, which is the best thing in the world, meeting fans and sharing experiences, which is great. But I'm still hungry to compete and have some fun out there, so headed to New York soon. And this will be my last big trip prior to that. So I saved the best one for last. We're here in Chicago, and then I'll head home and train for a few more weeks and hopefully do something special in New York.
Yeah, so I kind of fell into, I would say, trail running first. It became a way to get outside, get away from a pretty stressful job. At the time, I was active duty Air Force, and I was in charge of nuclear intercontinental ballistic missiles.
Stressful job, yes.
And
anybody else have a stressful job like that?
We were basically underground for usually 24 hours at a time in a small room, but it's also just high stress. There's no mistakes there. So
thank you.
A really great outlet became just trying to take advantage of the location that I was in. So I was based out of Great Falls, and then so that's somewhat close to like Glacier National Park and Missoula and Bozeman and these great outdoor cities. And I started doing like some backpacking and some hiking. But then kind of with my running background, I was like, man, I could do these a lot faster with a lot less gear. And basically I started just running with kind of like a camera, taking a picture at a couple of waterfall spots, and then running back and then sleeping in a more comfortable bed rather than just a backpacking thing. And it totally just was just this breadcrumb trail of finding out more and more about trails and then trail running, and then it's a sport, and then it kind of flips track a little upside down in some ways. That in ultra running we really love the long distance part of it, where sometimes on the track, like we might consider the 100-meter the most like prestigious track event, or I know I was always in college trying to stay in the 1500 as long as possible before I finally gave in to 5K, 10K. But in ultra running, it was just realizing like, oh, the further races are the really prestigious ones, and everybody wants to know like, oh, how far you ran and stuff. So I guess I've gotten that up to about 105 miles now.
It started as my own personal thing, and I brought it up after placing 5th in the New York City Marathon in 2017. I just kind of said off cuff in an interview, because I didn't have any clue what I was doing, because I'd never really been interviewed before, that I felt like I was a bigger runner. And I realized that other people, it resonated with them too. And so now I don't really say it for myself, but I am trying to like pay it forward.
We're all looking for our 1%. We're all doing all the little things, and it's foam rolling and ice bath and going for massage and so on and so forth. And the best thing we can do, the easiest, most simplest thing we can do, is make sure we're getting enough sleep. And most of us skimp on that because life happens. 2 weeks out, I mean, obviously in your whole build-up, and use this next time, you want to try and get that sleep, so that's when you recover, and that's when your body absorbs that work that you're doing and gets you prepared for the next big effort. So 2 weeks out, if you can start making it a priority, fantastic. And a really good tip that I use is we set an alarm in the morning to wake up on time, and you goes off and you get started with your day. If you want to make sleep a priority, do the same for sleep. Set an alarm at night when you're 1 hour out from wanting to go to bed. Okay, like I got the first warning, I got to start shutting things down and start turning off devices and getting yourself prepared, and then, a couple minutes, maybe 20 minutes before, have a second alarm and say, okay, this is the one that's going to get me to bed on time. And just getting in that routine, whether it's this last 2 weeks here, is going to help you just dial in, and then that's a great routine moving forward for your next segment too, because it can make a huge difference.
So as much as you can get sleep over the next 2 weeks before Chicago, which is coming up, you do it. As the athlete said, life does get in the way, and don't beat yourself up if you can't. There's other ways to recover, like taking care of your body from a nutritional standpoint and a hydrational standpoint. But if you get the sleep, that's going to be so important. One of my favorite hacks to try to help yourself get to sleep and calm down over the next couple of weeks is to drink chart cherry juice at night. It's anti-inflammatory, so it's going to automatically help those muscles recover and repair on their own. And it also helps your body naturally increase melatonin, which is our sleep hormone. So it's going to put you in that relaxation state and help you knock out a little bit when you're a little anxious about your run coming up.
We talk about this on race day, nothing new on race day. So same thing over the next couple of weeks. This is not your time to, go to Read Runner's World and go, oh, hey, that looks kind of pretty cool. This person ran pretty fast. I should try that. We've had 17 weeks, at least with the CES guys, we've had 17 weeks to be practicing all these kinds of things. So at this point, we're really just kind of honing in on, what we've done, what has worked, what has not worked, and kind of trying to really dial that in so that by the time we get to race morning, we're really not questioning anything anymore. This is kind of going back through the log of what you did for the last 17 weeks and really picking out what's going to work for you, both from sleep standpoint as well as nutrition.
Food is something that's totally in your control. So that's kind of a fun way to think about it, that what you can still do at this point of the game is to put good nutrients in your body that are going to really support you on race day. Personally, I think you should stick to things that agree with you. And across the board, we could all agree that inflammatory foods, so your processed foods, your fried foods, your fast foods, there's no room for those 2 days before the race. And then focus on filling up your plate with the good stuff. So fruits and vegetables, focus on high quality proteins, a little bit of fat. We kind of want to limit our fat unless you're doing a more fat adapted diet, but for most of us, focus on minimal fat intake and lower fiber intake, because that's going to cause more GI stress, which we all know we want to avoid as runners. That's a big part of our race day stress, is GI issues.
What I see with a lot of my friends is that they don't have enough fuel during the race. And so I know that every 5K, it seems like a lot to have a gel or maybe 100 calories, but you want to fuel yourself the whole time. So the more you can take in, the better. So if you haven't practiced yet, you should get on that, because it's really going to help. I wouldn't just take the Gatorade during the course, definitely have something on you. And Morton is really easy digestible, and a lot of people do really well with it.
For me, sometimes multiple nutrition plans too, because I can have, whether it's taste fatigue or upset stomach, bathroom problems, things like that. It goes to redundancy again as kind of one of the most key things you can have, because I'm out there so long, and just having multiple different plans to go to.
Yeah, I think we're all a study of one, so what works for me may not work for you, but some quick rules of thumb that kind of apply for both is food for function, not for fun. And for me, that's white rice, and it's just maybe a little bit of chicken before the race. That's a good, safe meal. Your plate tends to look pretty bland, and the whole idea is you want something that is going to go into your body and be fuel. But it's all been trialed throughout my build-up. I don't go into a race trying something new. So maybe switching for me, switching to oatmeal before the race would be just as bad, not just as bad as Indian food, but like it's different. I haven't tried it. Why tempt myself with something different? Because I heard that Allie did it. So stick with what you've been doing all along in this build-up, and you still have 2 weeks to kind of dial that in. Try it before your workouts, try it before your long runs, or even just your regular runs, and see how it sits in your stomach.
It is the busiest ridership day for the CTA in Chicago. So you can imagine how easy it is to get north to west to south, and our course is easy to navigate for our friends and family to get to where they need to go. So all that information is in that Spectator guide. It's also in the program, which all this information you should be receiving. And just like me, I don't tend to read everything, but in terms of making sure that you have a really efficient and great experience, I would definitely read that and read the information we do send you, especially in the next couple weeks. Have a secondary plan, in terms of where you're going to meet up. And we deal with a lot of customer service issues race day, like trying to connect families, friends to the runner. Maybe they're just not having a good day. They're looking for them. And, there's a plan to meet people at the Runner Unite, post-race party, etc. That's great to have one plan. But in terms of what happens when you don't have a good day or what's that secondary meetup point, so always have that plan B ready to go.